Do you have anything you want to?
No, seriously, Dad.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
I guess me and you will get back there and say something about the.
Yep, 2, 3, 4. And I'm
Thank y'all for coming. Well, that's all right. That messed up their morning nap, didn't it? Did they sleep late?
All right, we'll call the meeting back to order. Thank y'all for allowing us to recess for a moment. We have nothing under old business, so we'll move right on to the new business. First item is consider some board appointments. Commissioners, page 3 and 4 in your packet. We have openings on the Covington County Personnel Review Board and also on both of those are Covington County
EMS.
Personnel Review. The EMS Board, which is, that's right, council. What are your wishes on let's start with the Personnel Review Board.
On that, I made contact with Tony Lee and Virginia Bronner, and they would like to be reappointed.
Okay.
The personnel employee representative was, elections were held, and Jason Walker won that election.
Okay. So he will serve by vote of the employees. The other two would need to be reappointed or alternate
That's correct.
appointments made. What are your wishes? Want to reappoint Tony Lee and Virginia Bronner?
I'll make that motion.
All right, there's a motion to do that. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, second. Anybody else have anything you want to add or anything you want to ask about that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, those two are reappointed, and we confirm Jason Walker as the employee representative. So, is that the only one?
EMS council.
EMS Council. I know some of you have had conversation about that and looked at that. I think we have a couple of names to consider there. There are 3 openings. It's a group that has been, from our perspective, has been inactive for a while, but we need to re-engage, and so we have 3 openings to consider filling there. What names do you have, Karen, that have been submitted? Do you have some?
I don't know if anyone
I
actually
talked
picked
with
them.
Corey yesterday.
Corey
Sperling,
Sperling.
and yes, he wants to do it.
Okay.
And, he said that, where's our, I don't have.
I believe it was left out.
No, one gentleman had moved to
Mr. Walters, Steve Walters, had moved to Huntsville.
Huntsville.
That's right.
Yeah, and the Jimmy Wilson, was that?
I talked to Jimmy, and he would like to
Be reappointed.
Yeah, be replaced.
Replaced?
Be replaced, yes.
He wants, I know they said we hadn't had a lot of participation in some of the meetings, and so they was hoping, but like I say, Joey Williams had passed away, so we had to replace him.
So Corey Sperling is a name you're
Corey,
submitting,
and
and anybody else have a name to consider at this time?
He definitely wanted, he said he'd be glad to.
Okay.
And,
Well, we have 2 other slots, so I would encourage y'all to talk to folks that are prospects for that, and Karen can give you a little more background on what's involved so that you'll know the kind of people that would have an interest in that by virtue of what they are participating in. So you're submitting Corey Sperling. Is there a second to Corey's name as a
I second that.
second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So we'll notify Corey that we appreciate his being willing to serve, and then we'll look for those other 2 slots on the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. We've been asked to consider surplusing and approving purchases of some vehicles in the Sheriff's Department. I think Ms. Karen has most of the information on that. The Sheriff's here to answer questions if we have any.
Yes.
You want to tell us what we're looking at here on?
Okay, page 5 starts with a list of the vehicles to be declared surplus. If you'll look on item number 7, there was a little bit of confusion on that. That vehicle had already been declared surplus back in 2010. The vehicle that was intended to be surplus in that position is a 2005 Crown Vic, ending VIN number 7933. It was one purchased with county funds, so that's the only change on it. I do need to make note that item number 8, 07 Ford E350 van was purchased with a law enforcement grant through ADECA, and we'll have to follow their procedures before that can be disposed.
8's the only one that is an ADECA vehicle.
That's correct.
So, and the others
As far as a grant.
the others would be subject to us declaring surplus and for disposal on public auction, and we typically use gov deals. So if we have a motion on approving these for surplus and disposal.
Most of these purchased with law enforcement funds.
It's a mixture.
Yeah.
There was a donated truck. item number 6 was the '07 Chevy Silverado that was donated to us. The 2 and 3, the Humvees were purchased through,
They are a, LESCO, donation from the federal government, and, they'll be titled in our name soon, and they can be
Disposed of.
Okay.
So we're approving it for whenever that date gets here in October or whatever.
All right.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like 9 vehicles, and we'll just make sure that we handle the paperwork and the procedures properly. Is there a motion to approve declaring these surplus to be disposed of according to rules and primarily through public auction?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Anybody have questions?
No, sir.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
okay, the next list on page 7 is the list of vehicles that, the purchase needs to be ratified. There are 3 vehicles that are on order. The other vehicles are listed for you above that, page 7.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
And I think we had previously approved those ordered vehicles, did we not, we didn't do that at a
It was
meeting?
discussed, but it was nothing, no action was
Okay.
taken.
I knew we discussed.
Before we get a motion, let me ask Sheriff, are we increasing fleet between the sale? We have 9 that we're approving to sell, 7 that we're either approving or ratifying the purchase on.
Right now, when we get these ratified, we're gonna go through our fleet and pull our high mileage ones out, and we'll be doing this again with some more high mileage,
To surplus.
patrol cars to
Okay.
surplus.
So you're not looking for a net gain right now?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the ordering these vehicles or ratifying those that he's already purchased? He purchased some used ones that we need to get title in the county name and so forth.
I'd like to mention this was all with law enforcement funds.
That's correct.
Okay.
I would make a motion to approve these vehicles.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Anybody else have questions on it? If not, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, those are approved. Is that all on vehicles?
That is all of it.
All right. Next on the agenda is consider contract with the town of Sanford. Since there's nobody here to speak on that, we'll just move on to Sheriff. Why don't you come and address the group with that? Explain what you're proposing and.
Sure. First, I'd like to mention that I appreciate you young gals and guys standing up and becoming community leaders. One day you will be a community leader, and I just challenge you to always keep people's voice heard. We have a contract that we'd like to discuss on the town of Sanford. What this is a community type deputy that would be paid for by the town of Sanford. They would pay the salary and benefit package for this deputy. The town of Sanford covers a pretty large footprint within the county. This deputy would be assigned to this area, and he would do anything that is required as far as law enforcement and security is concerned. Keep an eye on our local businesses, helping out the municipality and things that they may need. And I just think, for instance, if somebody parks a car on top of a water meter, sometimes you need a police officer there to handle that. The town of Sanford is incurring the financial responsibility of paying for the deputy. This deputy would work 43 hours a week at various times. We're really not sure exactly what the top time would be. We have to look at our statistics and discover when would be best for this deputy to serve. It's probably going to be on a rotating schedule for the deputy. He may work Monday through Thursday one week, the next week Tuesday through Friday, and kind of rotate that way. This deputy, if the need arises and we needed to pull the deputy out of Sanford to go handle an emergency situation, then we would be able to do that. And we would also ensure that there was a deputy there for the time. The cost of the patrol car, we already have some patrol cars that could be used for that. One of these vehicles that we're purchasing will actually take the place of a patrol car that one of my investigators is driving now. As far as the field's concerned, I don't see where the fuel's gonna be such a huge impact on our budget. I know right now, the vehicle that I have intended to put over in Sanford is a pretty good one. I don't have any question as far as it's gonna, tear up or anything like that. And I think it's a real good idea for this community. Anytime you can put a police officer on the road, especially in such a ideal circumstance like this, we ought to act on it. This would also increase our patrol efforts in other areas of the county. We have to cover Sanford regardless, and this is just a way that we can cover Sanford and be able to use our, I wouldn't say excess patrol, because there's no such thing as excess patrol in law enforcement. We would be able to focus some of our needs and stuff in other areas. I think Sanford is all on board. I don't want to think that this it's going to be a speed cop there. It's going to be a well-rounded deputy that is good with the public and has a willingness to serve. This is a one-year program. I'm sure as it gets closer to the end of the year, if we approve this, that we'll reconsider other options. But I feel confident that this will be an asset to our community.
Okay. I know there's several Sanford folks here that may want to speak on it, or at least are here. What I understand is showing support. Just to clarify, you've asked the attorney to draft a
Yes.
contract. So from the county's perspective, that's been reviewed by her. Is there anything that we need to be aware of in that?
Just, there was one issue that I had, which was a suggestion that was under the scope of services. It looks like the 46,000 would cover the 43 hours, but shall not, if the officer was pulled away during that 43 hours, then that time had to be made up. And from the contracts that I reviewed, that does not appear to be the industry standard, that's what you do within a community and a county. If somebody needs help in River Falls and you go help them, and it just works itself out. So
I just want to ensure that the town of Sanford, they get the time that they've.
sure.
I spoke with the mayor about that briefly, and, it seems to be that, and I'll use River Falls for an example, if they have a situation in Red Level, the River Falls officer will certainly go there, and
Right.
they're not making up the time. It's just something that they do as a community service or to help each other as an in-kind.
I just want to make sure when we do
right.
have those situations that
It'll be
we can
handled in
respond
that.
properly.
And, and I talked with the mayor, and he didn't have a problem with that, so I don't think there'd be any overtime involved as far as that was concerned.
I really don't see
So-
that happening.
I just wanted to clarify, that was one of the questions we had, and we might want to change that on the contract, just so everything will be up
And it's
like
a
it ought to be.
simple redaction, but, if it becomes an issue and it appears that it's being abused, then
Yeah.
we'll
I'll handle
address
that.
when it comes our way. There's two other things. I'd also like to have the ability to make any revisions that aren't substantive in nature if you do approve this contract, and also it still needs to be ran by our insurance company, so, those would be.
How long, will that take a long time for an insurance review? A couple of weeks, maximum, a week?
I can't tell how long it's gonna take them to look at.
What's been your habit? I mean, what's been the practice? Is that typically
Well, I'm still
pretty
waiting
quick
on
response?
something, and then other things I've gotten quicker.
Well, we'll commit to try to get something pushed through within a week or 10 days, on their review, just.
And one
Alright.
other issue, the cost and payment, I put in here the 4 quarterly installments, I wasn't sure how y'all wanted to handle the payment.
Whatever's best for you.
Okay.
You want it all up front, you want it after, you want it 4 payments?
You've included 4 quarterly payments, I think that's
I
really.
think that's what-
$11,607, that the first installment would be due at the time of signing, and then thereafter you would do it in 90-day increments, if that's not confusing.
Okay, that's good.
Fine, I read it.
All right.
And,
Anybody else have a question or comment on this? Mayor, do you want to speak to this, or you have somebody that you want to address the group?
Anybody else want to speak? Okay, I'd like to speak. I think what Blake has told you, I would agree with 100%, and I think that everybody here that's concerned about Sanford or concerned about Covington County would agree with as well. What I've learned in my conversations with Blake is he's a man of numbers, and he enjoys the statistics of his job. And he's realized right now that there are some issues that we need to address, and that's gonna require manpower. And one way that we can address some of those issues is for a municipality like Sanford to help the commission address those issues as far as manpower. Now, we're in a unique situation. We have some businesses in a small municipality that a lot of municipalities doesn't have to concern themselves with. We have a cooperative that serves our entire community, and we have a car dealership that serves our entire community. And so I feel like, and they feel like, and our citizens feel like that we need a patrolman there as much as possible. The deal or the negotiations that Blake and myself had were fair. They were a partnership. It was not to be that Sanford paid for all this. And we've entered into that, understanding that this is a partnership. And I think it's a fair partnership. And we're 100% on board. We want to do what's best for the Sanford, but we also want to help Covington County. We have a history of trying to take care of our municipality. We've paved every road except one in Sanford. And me and Lynn are working on that one right now. There will be no more dirt roads in Sanford, hopefully within the next 2 years.
Good.
That will help your budget, because there is a motor grader that grades that road quite frequently. And so what I'm here to tell you is let's enter in this partnership and let us help you while we also help Sanford.
All right. Anybody have questions for the mayor?
I think it'll help the airport also. I know they have
And I forgot about the airport.
yeah,
And
they have a lot of investment out there.
And I've been in discussions with Mr. Blackwell, and he's 100% on board with this as well. And we don't know what the future is of the airport, but we know that there could be more businesses coming in daily. And so this is something that we would love to help you with, and love to be the model of when a commission and a small municipality works together, what you can accomplish. Thank you.
I think the key is that this is a model and given it a 1-year trial, and I hope it is very successful and we'll replicate it for many years to come.
Be a pilot program more or less.
Fully support it. Anybody else have a question or comment on this?
Sure.
Is there
Chairman,
yes?
I would like to address this situation. When these gentlemen approached me first as the CEO of Covington Electric in Sanford, and many of you all know we've had wire theft issues out there at this winter time, and there's other things that's going on that this would address. My first question to them is this going to be a speed trap? If it is, we're not going to enforce it. They assured me it would not be. It would be a deputy that was serving the county, and I certainly support that.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think also that it would entice people in the industrial park, there in Sanford, if they knew there was extra security for someone outside, and you say that's kind of rural, and they knew that there was protection out in that area, that would help make their mind up that they was coming into an area that would have that, sense of safety or whatever, somebody would be looking out their interests as well.
When it comes down to it, when it comes to law enforcement, the effect of blue lights is amazing. Whether they're writing a ticket or a warning or just stopping, helping changing the tire, or just see them riding around, when the bad guys see those blue lights, the goosebumps come up and they leave. So having this little extra incentive here in Sanford is going to help out Sanford, and my challenge is just let's see what we can do with it. My ultimate goal is a crime-free Covington County, and that's a pretty high goal, but I'm willing to take on the challenge the best I can.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to thank the sheriff and the mayor for putting this proposal together, and I'd like to thank each of you for giving it the consideration that you have. I agree with Ed. We have a pretty big investment in that community, as does Covington Electric and Airport, and we've got a new business that just opened in Sanford. Lonnie Sampson has opened the Edward Jones investment company right next door to the dealership. But I support it. On a 1-year thing, at least we can see how it works. And we appreciate Covington County. It's been mighty good to my family over all these years, and
Thank you, Johnny.
Jack.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question, comments? Anybody else in the public wanna speak on this? All right, commissioners, you have the contract in your packet. You've had a chance to review that. Evidently there are no questions, and you heard the couple of things that the attorney asked that we make part of the motion. So we would entertain a motion to approve this contract for a one-year trial, and then, we'll be able to look at how it works out and come back to it at a later date if we wanna renew it or discontinue it. I suspect it's gonna work extremely well, so is there a motion to approve the contract?
I do wanna say something before
Alright.
we vote on it. I talked to Mr. Johnny yesterday about it, so he knows my feelings on it, but just to let everybody else know. I go to church in Sanford, like I told Mr. Johnny, I do business in Sanford, you know, everybody, Mr. Tony knows that also. I don't think this is what's best for Sanford, and I think Sanford gets shortchanged by not having their own department. I'm willing to vote yes for this because you're here, but I still think you're better served with your own department long-term. And that's just my opinion, and I want you all to know that, but, you know, whatever
Well,
everybody
and
decides
this may
today.
open the door for that if that's, you know, if it works out and y'all think it's something, that'd be for them to decide, but I guess
Go ahead.
and so I guess at this time, I would make a motion to enter into this contract with them with the changes that we discussed pending approval from the insurance and, you know, making sure everything's in order to do that. I think, it's a pilot program, and if it works out fine, if they decide they wanna do their own law enforcement thing, then, one thing, Sheriff, I wanna ask you before we get too deep in it, your deputy, if you do hire, if this program was to discontinue or whatever, would probably through attrition or whatever, you'd have a place for them.
If I had a place for them, it would certainly be offered to them. However, if I don't have a place for them when I hire them, this will be the stipulation.
Be understood, yes, sir.
Be
Well, I don't
understood.
like to leave anybody, you know, just working
And
a year and not
I
knowing.
hate for somebody
Yes,
to go to work and then lose their job in
Right,
a year, but
right.
this is a pilot program.
Yes, sir.
And,
Well,
I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion and a second, so to clarify what the motion includes, entering the contract with the, allowance for the attorney to make minor changes that might be non-substantive
And approved by
changes.
them.
And per the insurance companies.
And subject to the insurance company's review, and this also, in approving this, we're including a change to the workforce, adding a workforce item, category to
Okay,
cover
I'll make
this.
that part of that
All right.
motion.
Any other questions, comments? There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here too. All right, Sheriff, what else?
something, I'm asking for, permission to look into a contract that we can enter with, hiring a school resource officer. I have a position open for a school resource officer at this time for the Strawn area. However, during the course of me looking for that special person to hire, I run into a lot of retired police officers. And I don't mean very old retired police officers. This is usually you're pretty young when you retire. However, these retired police officers are drawing a state pension, and they're only allowed to earn so much a year. I would like to work out a contract where these guys could be hired on a contract type basis, so they would not be considered a full-time employee with the county. It would not be they wouldn't be receiving any benefits other than the pay that they make. The maximum that they can make is, I believe, $32,000. And the officers that I've spoke to about this and everything, they're actually excited if this could happen. They would be required to work the schools just like any other officer, but however, they wouldn't build comp time. They would be paid on an hourly basis, and I say hourly, but they'd be paid on a contract basis, and the whole summer they would be off. Right now, the new law that was passed is that school resource officers do not have to be post certified. I do not think that's actually a good thing. So all mine will be post certified. So if they've been retired long enough that they've lost their post certification, I'll send them to a recertification school that's about 2 weeks long and get them right back on board. Also, there's another officer that I'm considering that's a retired Illinois police officer, young fella, and he would have to go through a certification too, but I would incur that through my law enforcement funds,
Okay.
discretionary funds.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to you, entering an arrangement that makes sense for both parties. I'm concerned about a contract employee versus a W-2 employee is kind of what I'm hearing.
Mhm.
Because the IRS rules are gonna dictate that, not the state retirement system, and if you tell them when to come, when to go, what to do while they're there, and provide their tools for doing it, most likely that's an employee that's gonna come under all the other employee regulations
Well,
and
I got
under our
this-
personnel policy as well, so.
This idea is not something that I actually come up with. I've seen it through other areas of the state. I think Dothan City does this a lot, but they're a city, they're not a county.
Are you saying a 1099 employee, is that
Like a
what you're referring to?
1099 employee. I'm not sure if we can do that or not, but that's what our,
Somebody else may be doing it?
that's right.
But it
Somebody else
just
may
hasn't
be doing it, and I would just like to see if we could do it.
What is the gain of doing it that way as opposed to putting somebody part-time earning a limited amount of money that doesn't keep them? get
My
them
whole
right
idea
place?
is getting our numbers up on our school resource officers. You know, we have 4 that's hired through the county, and there's also 1 that's hired through the school board. He's on a part-time basis. If this was to work out, no one's gonna lose their position as a school resource officer or anything, but as attrition takes place and everything, if I can possibly get a retired police officer that fit the criteria, and I mean, he would have to be able to pass post-standard physical agility tests and be able to qualify on his firearms, then I could get that officer at a lower rate and actually help increase our numbers and not increase our overhead costs.
Okay. I don't think we're ready to act on it yet. I think we need to just start the ball rolling.
That's
We'll
right.
ask Stephanie to review that from a legal standpoint. We'll ask Karen to look at it and have appropriate conversations related to the insurance and also to whether the IRS accepts a contract person as a non-employee.
Right.
It's gonna be I think it's gonna be a pretty big hurdle for us to get over. Anybody else have a comment you wanna make on this issue?
What schools are concentrating on more that might need extras?
Well, right now, I need to hire a Strawn officer. I feel that Strawn needs two resource officers just because of the size of the school and the traffic. I believe that they need 2. I also believe that the area of Florella needs 2. If you have one officer running between Florella and W.S. Harlan, I just don't see a great amount of effectiveness there. The other schools, Pleasant Home, Red Level, Felita, I think they are sufficient right now. I'm hoping that in the future there will be a push for school resource officers on a state level, and I like to see that Covington County is ahead of the game on that.
Okay.
Because I'd like to know we kind of set the standard, and they can follow by us. Also, all my officers will have to be alert certified, and that is the type of certification where you actually handle active shooters and things like that. I don't ever want to see one of my officers running away from the boom. They need to be going to it. So they're trained right now. I've got 3 that are trained, and the next guy, depending on which one I hire, will be trained as well.
Okay. Any other questions for him on this issue?
Do you have a plan in place to cover the beginning of the year for Strong School? Because I know we're obviously 3 weeks out.
I hope to be able to hire somebody within the next 2 weeks. And if he's the Illinois officer and I have to get him recertified, those 2 weeks that he's gone, I'll ensure someone's in that school to make sure everything's taken care of. It's going to be slim pickings, but it's what we have to do sometimes.
Okay. Any other questions? Rather than entertain a motion on that, we're just gonna ask Ms. Stephanie to review that and then
That's right.
get back with you and bring it back to us for consideration, if that's okay.
Yes.
All right. What else on your agenda?
Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your department. Next item on the agenda is consider appropriation for a sign. We've been approached by a group that's putting, is there information on it? No, I'll come back to it. Let me get the sign since I already have it. All right, that was gonna be easier. There's a request for what might be referred to as a directional sign to be put near the lake, on the north end of the lake at Opp. There's a group of veterans that is putting a a memorial park there, and they want direction off the highway, and I'd like to pay for that out of my discretionary funds, but it needs consideration approval from the commission. It's 200, you remember the amount?
$144.
$144. Is there a
Was
motion
that
to
on the
approve
state
that
right away?
expenditure?
Yes, yeah.
So can we do it?
Yeah.
I was just asking the state right away sign. I was concerned that we had to have permission from the state to,
I think all that's been done, so.
okay.
I'll make that motion.
There's a motion, second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any other questions to spend less than $200? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that's approved. Now let's go back to the Arena Advisory Board. We have I think a recommendation from that group, and I'll call on Ms. Stephanie, who has been sitting in on those meetings to make a presentation for us.
The Arena Advisory Committee met on July the 9th, and they would like to make a recommendation to the commission to accept proposals for an arena contract manager. They have spent some time going back and forth on with an employee versus an independent contractor, and which would be better suited for the arena. And at this time, I'd ask that you approve their proposal for us to move forward in trying to hire a arena contract manager. And to narrow it down, I'd actually ask that you approve and authorize Karen as the administrator to move forward, so that she could advertise and organize the details of pursuing the interviewing and recruiting a contract manager.
All right. Is there a motion to authorize Karen to move forward with this recommendation?
I
Make a
think
motion.
that's would probably be the best solution, would be a manager. We've discussed it, over the last few months. Still, we've fallen back to the budget that we don't have on this yet, but, it's gonna take quite a time to get the right person involved, and, so I would make a motion to approve her to do
All right.
that.
I second.
And
Motion and second. Any other questions, comments on this?
Well, this, see if I can figure out how I wanna ask my question. This advisory board, will they bring the applicants together and then they'll be brought before the commission?
No,
That's generally not.
the recommendation, what I would like to see is that these proposals be brought to the commission, and we're gonna enter the
Tom, wanna say
contract.
something?
Right. I was thinking that was the decision that the board made, is whether to have an employee versus a management contract, and I think their recommendation was a management contract, and I think that would fall back on the commission to make the decision on who's hired.
Sure.
Certainly look at their recommendation if they have something, but
Does he wanna comment on this?
I don't know. Somebody else wanna make a comment?
Tom? Thomas
Thomas,
is
do
back.
you want to make any comments?
Okay, all right.
They've actually spent a great deal of time just defining what those
Right.
And this-
contractual duties would entail.
I know it's been taxing on them to come up with,
And the board does have their next meeting at 10:30, so if you have an interest, you certainly be welcome to hang around for that, and no telling what they'll come up with from this meeting, so. There is a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments on this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move forward with that. All right.
Second item. Website and Facebook page.
Yes, they also made a recommendation to have the website and Facebook page, and that the website page be independent of the commission.
So the way we're addressing that right now is the administrator's office is coordinating those things, and we do have a jump to button from the county's website to information on the arena, and we just need to move forward with how we want to expand upon that. And since we don't have a manager in place, and we're trying to do that with staff that's already taxed a little bit, I'd like to, we appreciate the recommendation, and we'll just move on that as quickly as we can, but I do think we're making some progress, and I'd like to let that run 2 or 3 weeks and see where we are, unless somebody wants to do different. Okay, what else? Is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank y'all. And thanks to all those folks that are serving on that committee. I know it's consuming a lot of time, probably beyond what they anticipated, so we appreciate them. Next, Ms. Karen, consider purchase for the IT department.
Yesterday it was brought to our attention that we had some issues going on with our backup server and that it may need to be replaced. We won't know that just yet, but since we were meeting today, I wanted to go ahead and put that on the radar that if it is needed, that the price of it would be $8,580 to replace that server.
So is there a motion to approve this purchase, if needed, when they finish the assessment?
Yeah, because it may be a situation where it's a weekend or whatever and don't have to call a special to handle it.
All right. So that was a motion?
Yeah,
All right. Is there a
I'll
second? Motion and second by Keith. Any other questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
I appreciate our IT man doing what he's doing,
Yep.
keeping us going.
No, this is that one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, we have an agreement to consider. I was getting mixed up. I was thinking it was the Alabama Forestry. U.S. Department of Agriculture agreement, Lynn, this is in your department on bridge construction. What bridges are you looking to
It's
construct?
it's our flat bridges, for that grant that we received. It's for the, two on Giles Road and one on Falco, and it totals right at $53,560 for their services. And, this actually could go toward our match toward the grant, so.
Okay. 3 bridges?
3 bridges.
So there's a motion to enter this agreement with USDA.
It's through Thompson Engineering.
There's 2 different things.
Okay.
We have the geotechnical agreement that you had, we brought in just a few moments ago with Thompson. And
Yes.
then we got one from the Department of Agriculture that we got in the mail yesterday. And it was a special permit,
Both are related to the bridges though in the
yes.
Yeah,
national forest.
yes,
Special
absolutely,
permit,
yes, yes.
and then there's
So we need
there's 2.
we need to approve the agreement with, entering the agreement with USDA, for the bridges in the forest.
And what this is, it's just a special use permit, cause technically the United States owns the actual, roads in the forest, and it's actually just a general, permit used to have SCB maintain the roads in the forest.
Okay.
And this meets our requirement for right-of-way that we have to submit to the, to meet our flat requirements as well.
Okay.
So,
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Kenneth? Is there a second?
I'll say.
Motion and second. Anybody else have a question for Lynn on the agreement with USDA specifically? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right.
So
The
next.
second item is on with Thompson
Thompson,
Engineering.
yes.
And what services are they providing?
Geotechnical, bridge
Geotechnical
foundation report,
On the same 3 bridges?
yes.
Okay.
Now, the general use permit covers all the sites.
All the
and
work.
All the work there in the forest. There are 6 total sites there that we're working on.
Thompson provides that because we don't have the capacity
Yes.
in-house.
Yeah,
All right.
they have a recommended tip elevations and such for our.
And that's a
Yes,
normal
yes.
procedure on this bridge construction for you to go outside. Is there a motion to agree, enter the agreement with Thompson Engineering for services?
Yes, sir. I'll make that motion.
There's a motion. Second?
Second.
What's the contract price with Thompson? Do you have that?
$53,560.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. Lynn, do you have anything else? From your
Just
department?
our report on the 107 bridge. We have our survey completed, and we're just continuing the process of right-of-way acquisition. So,
All right, good, thank you. Any other department heads have anything that you need to bring? Susan, you may have anything today? The weatherman, Frank, come on up. Why don't you come up and get on TV and they'll, give you a chance to kind of gather your thoughts and,
That's right.
and,
Told last meeting I needed to have a green screen so I could point and
Yeah, right.
demonstrate. What I have is real brief, just coming from the EMA office related to the weather we're gonna have the next week or so. Periods of showers and potential thunderstorms are expected to develop across our area today and tomorrow. Stronger of these storms are gonna be along I-65 and south of there. It's expected to lead to some nuisance-type flooding. Nothing severe in our area, not to count out any flash flooding that might happen in some low-lying areas. As far as the tropics are concerned, around 7 a.m. this morning, the National Hurricane Center assigned a 20% chance of a tropical system developing over the northern part of Gulf of Mexico. Although this percentage is very low because of the past history with this type of system and its characteristics, the National Hurricane Center is going to keep an eye on it and report back to everyone as it develops, if it develops into something. Tropical Depression number 3, which you can see down just to the east of the Florida Peninsula is expected to kind of migrate northeast out of our area, and not expect to show any signs of affecting our area at all. And then finally, expect a break in the heat for a little bit. I say a break from our triple digits, I should say. But we'll be right back up in the mid to high 90s by the weekend. Also, remember the relative humidity will still be up, so don't let the lower temperatures fool you. If you're going to be working outside or doing any kind of outside activities, remember to stay hydrated, pay close attention to any type of signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke.
All right.
Appreciate you letting me share.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Frank. Yeah, Rich Thomas Jr. All in, let's see, do we have any comments from the commissioners?
I don't have anything.
If not, then a motion to adjourn would be in order. Thank you, Kenneth. We stand adjourned.
I'll second that, Ken.
Thank you.